What's the lamest way that you injured yourself badly? I broke my nose while opening the fridge. I was sleepy and stood too close. That's when I stopped the habit of night snacking. Gave myself a serious concussion when I didn't clear the top freezer and hit the very top of my head taking something out of the fridge. I couldn't drive for 2 months and had auditory hallucinations for about 2 years. It was such a ridiculous accident. I fainted and shattered my foot by just getting out of bed. Seriously, got up and went to the bathroom, felt it wah feeling, grabbed a bottle of water then crumpled, unconscious, in front of my fridge in my own apartment. I just moved in, didn't even have furniture and had been sleeping on a bedroll till I could pick up my stuff. I broke 3 metatarsals clean through, 2 chip fractures, resulted in 2 plates and 12 screws. Didn't walk for almost 6 months. I stepped off a curb coming out of a movie theater and rolled my ankle. I ended up fracturing a bone in my foot that required surgery. I was on crutches for about 6 months. Stepping from one level surface to another while gardening. Rolled my ankle so hard that horrible sensation of wrongness alone almost made me throw up. Had to crawl into the house. Whole foot and calf turned purple and I was on crutches, no driving for months. ETA. I have so many limping brethren who share my deep disappointment in the fundamental design flaws of ankles. Love to you all. Big feels to everyone who has, unhappily, joined this club. Holy Christ, go big or go home I guess. LOL. I tried to pee off the side of a hot tub because I was jealous that my brother and his friends could do it. I'm female. I slipped and cracked open my chin on concrete. Coming from a lactose intolerant person, eating copious amounts of dairy to the point where I crap my organs out then pass out on the bathroom floor, then subsequently wake up with a small piece of my forehead missing. Cheese is really good though. When I was little I lived with my mom in a ranch house, and the whole house had this long and narrow hallway that ran through it. I thought it would be funny to run straight at my mom and park her off the wall to pass her in the hallway at a high speed. In reality my foot slipped off the wall. I tripped over her foot and went straight down into my left hand as I caught my fall awkwardly. Broke my wrist in 2 places and broke 3 fingers LOL. Parkour is where you go from point A to point B as creative as possible while point A is delusion and point B is the hospital. Got knocked over by a 5-year-old, hitting my head on a table and breaking my wrist in the process. I wish I was joking. My mum tripped over a kid at work and fractured 3 ribs. She was like 55 at the time so it flattened her for weeks. Not me but a friend got drunk and punched a brick wall full force to prove how tough he was. The resulting damage to his hand left him permanently unable to fully close it. At the time he was very drunk and preaching about how harmful weed is because it destroys your body. My dad told me a similar story. They'd been drinking. Their sober ride is trying to drive them home. He sticks his hand out the window to punch a mailbox. Couldn't do sports anymore after all the extensive surgeries they had to do on his hand. It's wild how quickly your life can change. Oh, I have to. I broke my hand attempting to punch my brother. Through a weak fist, he blocked with his arm, and I broke the bone on the side of my right hand. I broke my clavicle after riding my bike into my dog in our driveway and flipping over the handlebars. One time I had a thought process that didn't end logically. I was frisky, and I thought, vaginas are good because they are warm. Fire is warm. A big fire is too warm. A little fire is little warm. I have a small lighter. I will put that to my penis. I burned my penis. Guys, we need to save this comment for the next time we are trying to explain to someone how we got from point A to point catastrophe. It's just how it works sometimes. Was dropping a ceiling in an apartment complex for HVAC ductwork. I had safety glasses on that had a mild tint. I couldn't see well with them on for one nail I had to drive. It was new construction so there was no lights in the building. Took the glasses off and the second swing of the hammer sent the nail straight into my right eye. What a stupid way to lose an eye. Nailed it. I was 8 years old when I slipped in the bathroom and broke my front tooth on Christmas Day. It was already crooked to start with but it snapped off about half of my tooth. So we had to find a dentist who was willing to check that I hadn't damaged the nerves of it. The good thing was it did it so that we met Dr. Anderson, real name, in California, who is an awesome guy. 10/10 would recommend because he is very chill with kids. Don't know if he has retired yet or not though. Many years ago, married 24 years now, my husband and I were goofing around play fighting. He's a 2nd degree black belt. I'm a 2nd degree dumbass. I lunge forward while flinging my foot and kick him in the bum. Broke my ankle. He was unscathed. We still laugh about it today. Ha, 2nd degree dumbass. Nice. Tried to impress a girl I had a crush on in 4th grade. Told her I can jump over her. Jumped, hit my head on a door frame. Had a concussion the next day. I was headed to the laundry room in my apartment building and decided to walk down the icy steps in flip-flops. I slipped, landed all 350 pounds of my then self on the edge of a step just above my left butt cheek. This resulted in a fractured pelvis and nerve damage, both of which still bother me from time to time 16 years later. I'm with you, except no ice. Fell down a set of concrete stairs at work and broke my pelvis. Wasn't doing anything except walking down the steps in a well-lit space. Supreme humiliation being taken out of the office by paramedics. 4 months of bed rest and also have regular pain years later. I stepped down off a truck bed and rolled my ankle. Broke 3 bones, tore ligaments, tendons, and 1 muscle. Out of work for 6 weeks. Fell down 1 flight of stairs like going down a slide. Fractured my tailbone. Thought it was just a really bad bruise and walked it off for 1 month before I thought of getting an x-ray. Even did foot drill before I found out. Also chased after the ex-president when he was jogging at a beach. Fell and scrapped my knees. Got his attention. Got up and said hi. Mr. Obama, get down. Threw my back out sneezing. Told my boss co-workers I was helping my mom move something heavy because it was so embarrassingly lame. Cries in 30+. This just happened like 5 days ago. I was taking a dump peacefully in my restroom and my daughter has a small wooden stool she uses to reach the counters and get on the toilet. I thought to myself, well, I am sitting here watching YouTube. May as well get comfortable. I stretched my legs onto the stool, and all of a sudden I feel a very sharp pain. Imagine getting probed in your hip joint by a white hot iron poker that also electrocutes. In my hip joint. No major movement was done, other than just lifting my legs, straightening them out onto the stool. Had to finish taking a crap in severe, blinding pain. 10/10 would not recommend. Now, every time I walk or try and straighten up, my hip feels like a jellyfish is fricking my hip with its stinger. Been going okay for 5 days but can't afford to see a chiro. Imboned. Being a 30-year-old dude and this happening, sucks butt. You should really get this checked out. The sooner the better. If you've pulled anything, the longer you let it go, the more damage it could do and end up costing you so much more. I was on holiday in France when I was about 10 and we were in a patisserie and the oven was right next to where you paid for your things. I said to my mum, "Do you reckon that's hot?" She said, "Touch it and find out." So I stuck my hand flat on the surface and it stuck to the oven. It was so hot. I then ripped it away and left a layer of skin on the side of the oven that started to crisp up and burn and it stunk. So yeah, the next 10 days of the trip was fun having to have a burn glove on. A. I should have known a freaking oven that is glowing would be hot. B. Found out my mum thinks I'm not as smart as she thought. This is pretty much the opposite of helicopter parenting. Red hot glowing patisserie oven parenting. Was once cutting pants into shorts. While I was wearing them, with a 7-inch knife, it got caught on the seam. I pulled and stabbed myself in the thigh. I'm embarrassed to even type it. I punched my headboard. Direct hit. Beautiful technique. Alignment of the wrist was pristine and contact was made on the first 2 knuckles. Still broke. I cut off a pimple on my face with a dirty knife. I ended up getting infected and the entire right side of my face bloated up with pus. Gradually, I'm talking I could barely see through my right eye. It was years ago but they cut something in my nose then drained the pus out my face. Holy crap. That's, insert that lady yelling at her daughters for not flushing the crap. Disgusting. I bumped my head into another child while on a trampoline. She was fine but I had to get stitches. I was like 10 or 11 maybe. I didn't end up being badly injured but at the time I thought I was going to die. At my grandparents', my brother and I made a makeshift swing out of a tow rope and a random board when we were pretty young. We couldn't control the height of the swing very well because the limb we wrapped the rope around was thick. So the swing was high enough that we had to do a jump and pull combo to get into. At one point the rope broke while I was in the seat and I fell flat on my back. I had never had the wind knocked out of me before and when that happens you physically cannot breathe for a bit. I thought I broke a rib or something and it pierced my lungs so I couldn't inhale. Not how that actually works, but I was young. I thought was going to suffocate on the ground while my brother was standing over me telling me to not be a baby. Playing TIG, or tag if you're American, and ran into a metal pole, split my head open, blood everywhere and required multiple stitches. Now I have a scar on my forehead, kinda looks like an exclamation mark cause it leads to a mole at the bottom. When I was like 5 years old, I was rolling around on the floor all wrapped up in a blanket because I was a caterpillar in my cocoon. I hit my head on the corner of our brick fireplace. It didn't hurt but I touched my head and there was a lot of blood. We went to the ER or something and we had the option to do stitches, but I was 5 and chickened out, so we just put a gauze over it and I couldn't swim for a month. I still have a scar. It's in my hairline and it doesn't grow hair. I'm a very clumsy caterpillar. The microwave cooking my pizza rolls upstairs dinged ready while I was downstairs playing Apex. I hadn't eaten all day, so out of excitement, I sprinted around the corner and knocked my right foot on the wall and tore off my big toenail. I had to put 8 stitches in. Big toe has nerve damage, and my toenail grew back all fricked up. I was 28 at the time. Sorry, big toe. Tried reenacting a Tom and Jerry scene where Tom screams out the window. I tripped and hit my face on the aluminum window frame. Still have a big scar on my nose to this day. I was sitting down for a long time in a funny position, barefoot. The lower part of my left leg was dead asleep and I decided to wake it up. I should stand up and shake it. I stood up, the foot rolled, which I didn't even feel, and I heard a snap. I had broken my foot and it was so dead asleep I didn't feel any pain for another 15 minutes. I used to lift pretty heavy but I got lazy and stopped working out for a while. My first week back in the gym I felt great, and on leg day I decided to hit the squat rack. My 5RM4 back squat used to be 315 pounds, but I knew I wouldn't hit that, so after my warm-up sets I racked 185 easy, 205 easy, and then 225 easy. My legs felt great, so I racked 245 and assumed I'd be able to hit 5 reps at least. On the second rep while raising, I freaking folded myself in half. Was so painful I almost fainted. Could barely get to the dressing room to get my crap. Stumbled to the front desk, asked for help, got wheeled into an ambulance in a stretcher. In retrospect I didn't need an ambulance, but it was my first serious back injury and it hurt so badly I thought I had broken something. I was bedridden with a slipped disc for about 2-3 weeks and did physio for months before I was able to start lifting again. Frick, I felt stupid. I'm sure other zebras will commiserate. I have Ehlers-Danlos, so I've dislocated ribs from sneezing and shoulders from sleeping. I think that's pretty lame because it's not even good sneezes or refreshing sleeps that cause the injuries. Fellow zebra reporting in. I dislocated my ankle by sitting in the passenger seat of a parked car. I had my feet up on the dashboard and the joint just slipped. The morning inventory of injury is always fun. LOL. When I was like 6 I was holding open one of those dressers where it's basically just a box with an openable top on it. Well, the top was very heavy. As I was choosing my shirt for the day my hand slipped and it like destroyed my left middle and ring finger's nails. There's also the story of how I got my leg ran over by a car because I decided not to listen to my mom when I was like 4 years old. But that's a story for another time. Please tell me the other story, I am interested. Stabbed myself in the hand with a steak knife trying to pry a frozen pepper off a pizza. I could have just taken it off after microwaving it. Yeah, but if you take it off after it's been heated up you can still taste the pepper. You did the right thing. I'm fairly secure in the knowledge that no one's gonna scroll this far and read what an idiot I am. I've got a few. I'm a little simple-minded at times. I was shaving a bar of soap with a razor blade. Don't ask. I was a weird kid. The blade got gunked up, so I decided the best way to clean it would be to run my thumb along the blade while pushing down hard. Split my thumb right open to the bone. I couldn't get the lid back onto a tin of paint, so I decided to smash my elbow down on it as hard as possible to force it closed. Chipped my funny bone and it was decidedly unfunny as even fabric brushing against it was agony for months. I once jumped out of a moving car because I was arguing with the driver. I figured you'd roll and stuff like in films. Turns out that that's not how physics works. I hit the floor like a sack of crap and ripped the tendons that hold your hip joint in the socket. That one was 24 years ago and I'm still in pain from it on a daily basis. But I think my favorite is when I got a lit cigarette stuck in my cleavage because I was holding it in my mouth to free my hands to undo my jeans so I could flash my crotch at a friend who called me ginger pubes. He was sitting on the floor so I level with my majestic and only slightly ginger bush. It was the 90s. Pubes were a thing. And was so traumatized that he curled into the fetal position and screamed while rocking gently. It made me laugh so much. The cigarette fell out of my mouth and into my shirt. Still got an awesome scar from that one. I walk on my feet all day every day. Now I have a really bad case of plantar fasciitis and before I started getting treatment I could barely walk. New arch supports, new boots and 6 months later and now I only have problems when I first get up. It could take over a year to fully heal. Working retail did that to me, too. Sadly, I still have the pain, even with new shoes and insoles every 6 months. Good news is my boss fully understands that he can't have employees in pain, so he lets me sit down when the pain gets too bad. Just celebrated my leg break anniversary. On the 9th it was 12 years ago I suffered a compound hip foot fracture. It was a Saturday night. My hubby and I decided to stay in and watch some of the '08 Summer Olympics. My phone rang. I took one step from getting out of my recliner and it just broke. In those nanoseconds I knew what had happened before I even looked down at my leg. My husband looked at me and asked what was that. It sounded like a 2x4 breaking. Surgery required to place a bar through my tibia from knee to ankle. Screws included. 7 days in hospital. In a wheelchair for 2 months and 4 more months using a walker. That's what we get for staying home on a Saturday night. I left some stuff on a football field after marching band practice and was too lazy to call someone to unlock the gate, so I climbed and jumped the 10-foot or so fence. Hurt my knee pretty badly on the landing but didn't think much of it until I jumped back over and heard some pops in my knee and couldn't move. Turns out I obliterated my ACL, so I told everyone I tore it on the football field. I got out of the sauna with my kids at my house, and I was like, hey look, I'll do a forward roll in the snow like I used to do when I trained martial arts. Except it was winter and the ground was frozen solid under a couple inches of snow. And I weighed like 230 pounds now, not 180 pounds. The clavicle detached from the rest of my shoulder and I had to get an operation with 3 pins to hold it back. I was about 8 years old and was at my buddy's house. My mom told me that morning not to do anything dumb since we didn't have insurance at the time. I ended up climbing a tree and falling out like a Acme cartoon. Broke my wrist and got a good whooping for that one. In 3rd grade or so I stood behind some guy while playing hockey. As he took a swing with a hockey bat I got hit in the face and one of my front teeth broke in half and the nerve was damaged. That is also the reason why I have now, 5 years later, braces. Got drunk as frick and tripped over a little crack in the pavement, landing awkwardly and busting my clavicle into multiple pieces. My friends carried me home, which of course lifted the smashed clavicle to a degree solidly over 90, and chalked up my beastish growls to being too drunk. Woke up the next day on a flimsy mattress behind the couch in my parents' living room. To this day I do not know why they dragged out an old mattress instead of just dropping me on the couch. I expected about 50% of these stories would have drinking in it. I was surprised the percentage was so low. I turned around. Straight up, just calmly turned around. Not even fast. But I was on tile in my pool house and it was damp. Not even wet from people swimming. Just humidity on tile damp. Left leg twisted and went even more left. Right leg folded under me. At first I didn't think it was that bad. It was horrible. Couldn't walk at all for 2 days. Barely for a week. Finally was pain free a month later. I know it's not life threatening, but frick. I turned around. Every now and then it gets a little bit slippy when you turn around. Turn around. Every now and then my leg's a little bit tired of my crap. Working in a kitchen for several years without a knife injury, the thing that finally got me bad, the lid to a tin can, sliced my thumb deep. It was winter and I decided to have a hot bath. Figured I could stay warm a little longer by getting on my knees and leaning out the tub to grab the towel for a quick transition from hot water to warm towel, eliminating as much standing butt naked and wet in the cold air. That genius plan didn't go so well when my knees slipped sideways in the soapy water, hit the corner of the tub under my outstretched arm and broke 3 ribs. Really wish I'd taken a few extra minutes of discomfort over the weeks of pain. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.